Think it's time we rise up, people. It's time's up, people. You can talk all you want, but it won't change a thing. I wanna know what you do.
Americans are much like addicts when it comes to politics. Is accept whatever relief we can as elections and things come up, and whatever's going to get us closest to feeling okay, and would not do the work to go chase the good political dope. Like, you know, whoever.
So right.
That's what I do. Whoa.
Panther Nation is a Facebook group that's hidden, it's private, you have to be invited to. I think when I joined it there was like 3,000 or 4,000 people, and now there's 2.5 million, and that's only been in the last week or two. So it's this like exploding kind of bomb of support for Hillary. It's a historic moment. I think whether people vary from kind of reluctant to support to enthusiastic support, everybody is very excited about the notion of a woman in the White House. I think all of us heard at some point that there was something we couldn't do when we grew up, and this is one last thing that isn't on that list.
I love that.
We can tell our story about how we climbed the ladder, and a lot of you younger women don't think you have to, it's been done. It's not done, and you have to help. Hillary Clinton will always be there for you, and just remember, there's a special place in hell for women who don't help each other.
Women are the majority of Americans.
We are the majority of voters. We are the majority of grassroots volunteers and donors.
Our government should look like us.
We are a supermajority, and we are unstoppable. Let's make sure the entire country knows it.
This year, they rigged an election. They rigged it like they've never rigged an election before.
The certification of his defeat interrupted. The United States, Canada, countries around the world left stunned.
How could this happen? What now for a country in spasms?
We will not let them silence your voices. We're not going to let it happen.
I support Donald Trump because he knows the changes that need to be made to make our country much better than it already is.
Because he's a good businessman, and I love him.
I'm supporting Donald Trump because I asked this very simple question. How has it been going the last 30 years with governors and senators and career politicians being president? 20 million people out of work or underemployed. The borders are wide open, failed health care. We've lost our status around the world. Incomes have gone down under this administration and others. We need to secure the borders. So I want a person that has created tens of thousands of jobs, not worried about being politically correct, and says what's on his mind and what the hardworking taxpayers are saying.
My big thing is immigration. I'm a big fan of his immigration policy, but probably the most important thing is his tax policy. I think it's really going to change the country. I think it's going to help a lot of people, help bring a lot of businesses back, and that's really my main reason is the taxes, his business experience. I really think he's going to turn the economy around.
I support Donald Trump because I am tired of being a second-class citizen in my own country.
welcome to the Up and Up. My name is Jody Newell, and I have a great guest to introduce to you today. His name is Joe Conniff. I never thought about it that way. I'm sorry. Keep going.
But I mean, but that's really like, this is this realization I had in the last couple of years is, I've been in recovery, since 2015. And so I've watched these couple like really circusy election cycles where it's like, this is progressive because it's undoing the policies of the last person. Like, that's not change. That's accepting a little bit of relief. And then the fact of the matter that's so hard to hear is the people that have fought for so long for civil rights and other things saying we have to do this to make progress when it's not progress, when it's just getting back a little bit of what we had. So it's like, how can we expect to make actual progress on things that people are using for relief from what that society, from what that political system is creating? Like, we don't have an interest in actually solving the addiction crisis. We're just throwing money at Band-Aids when we're not realizing the fact of what actually produces the need to find the large scale, relief from drugs and alcohol that we're seeing in our society. That's my personal take on it is. And it seems, I'm hopeless in the whole thing.
I mean, I don't know. I wish I could end it with something like, but we keep trying, but we keep, and I get that, and I want to keep like that optimism, and I want to keep that, I want people to, to be encouraged and to have something to do. But, it's really, I agree with what you're saying, or at least what I think you're saying is that, this is what the system produces. You know what I mean? Like so we're kind of trying to like fix these problems at the end of the road, but at the same time, like all along this road, you've set up this road with all kinds of obstacles and fucked up shit
exactly.
You know what I mean? Then it's like, why would you expect anyone to get anywhere else but than where they're at?
I think,
analogy, but I'm going with it.
I love that. Like how you said, it's, you've created the road to this point. And I think, and it can end on a good note. The reality is like I said, is we're even seeing it here in Washington State. We're seeing it in other places where people with lived experience are getting elected into local office. And I think, what the advocacy movement started as, and we're just talking about how we handle making changes to address substance use disorder and mental health crisis and everything that comes with that, homelessness, public health, all these other things that are tied to that web, is advocacy was really took this big shift of like people sharing their experiences at town halls, legislative forums, people starting to get vocal, celebrities, other people writing books about the experience of it. It's really like, and there was so much support and encouragement to get behind people to share their story at that level. And I think, the next wave of encouragement really needs to be is to get people into local politics. And like, and I think, where it's kind of like people, I've heard sometimes it's like, I'm not cut out for that. And I'm like, neither are the people that are in there right now. Like,
exactly.
Many of them got no experience in anything. And I'm like, and if you've fought for recovery, you fought for community, those things, you already have an opportunity to bring something else to the table. And I think this is where the movement needs to really be focused on, like, yeah, it's uncomfortable to do that kind of work, to get into policy, to get into state representation and Senate and those things. But it's like, we are making progress in normalizing that this is the American experience. Addiction is a way of life in this country. It's normalized in every other capacity in which addiction shows up, except for substance use disorder, workaholism, being addicted to screwing other people out of their money and their labor and those kind of things. It's celebrated. Like, this is the only addiction we don't celebrate. And so at this point, helping lift people with encouragement up to a place in which they're taking that lived experience into actually making, implementing policy and becoming lawmakers and those things is really the next step. It's going to be a little uncomfortable, but nothing as uncomfortable as most of the shit that a lot of us have survived in substance use and mental health crisis. So,
well, I think sad about it is that the exact same lived experience that makes you most qualified to be able to speak on those issues, makes you most qualified to be a valuable voice in that room, are the same lived experiences that people would be ashamed of and would say, oh well, people wouldn't vote for me based on this, or this kind of thing. So it's like, we have the stigmas built into the process itself. But you know what it takes? It takes people standing up and not being ashamed of the shit they've been through in their life. That's what it takes.
I have a friend who, unfortunately, is currently behind bars, and we're talking recovery work together, and he's used this term unconditional transparency, and I've just fallen in love with it, is because that's the way that I've tried to live my recovery. Is all the dirty laundry is out there. There's nothing for anybody to say. Like, it's in a book. I don't care. I will talk about it all with laughter and with seriousness and with compassion and kindness to those that have loved and lost people by it too, but fearlessly with that unconditional transparency. And I loved it when he said it to me in an email a couple of weeks ago, conversation between prison for drug related offenses, and I was just like, that's what this is. Like, that's what it takes. That's what it's all about. That's how recovery comes to fruition. And that's, like, transparency is not the hallmark of government political operations. And so I'm like, well, unconditional transparency in that arena can't hurt. I don't know. Those are, and that's just, I'm trying to have I think having a sense of humor about this, because the realities of it are so, it's so much despair. Yeah. And there's so much chaos and insanity. And I mean, if we're going to continue to move forward, they have to find a sense of humor. They have to find a way to, laughing at the intolerance of other people as we're trying to go toe to toe with some of this stuff, is the ridiculousness of it, because it's an addiction in itself to be full of greed, to be full of hatred and delusion in that capacity. And it's like, when we wake up from it, it's like life is so much different. It's everybody's in some kind of recovery process. Yeah. It's everybody can benefit from putting the brakes on, listening to other people, trying to understand. You have to want to understand, and that's what opened the door for things for me, is realizing my experience that I had and the gratitude for the criminal legal interventions and those things. That can all be true. I can have all those things be true about my experience and still want to change it. Like, people can still disagree with addiction and people using and people living in the streets and still want to change it. Like, it's like we can still be in both of those places. That's being with discomfort. Like, we all need to learn to be with it a little bit more,
Yep. I like that. You know what, Joe? I'm taking that. I'm sorry, I don't know who your friend is, but no, you can just tell them that I'm taking that unconditional transparency. I'm going to take that to the bank.
Yeah, I love it. It's just, it says so much in that statement.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's anyway, whatever. It's interesting to think about in that context, and I think in a lot of other contexts, you know what I mean? I think that being dishonest about yourself, and this is something I've said since I was 14 years old. I won't tell you how many years that's been, but whatever. Anyway, is that if you lie about something, that basically means you're ashamed of it, because, you know what I mean? That's showing your shame. If you feel like you need to lie about something, that's showing your shame. And it's not to say that, like, it's not like a judgment call on anyone. It's just to say that you're not proud of that part of yourself, or you're not proud of what you did. You're not proud of it. Okay. That, and that's not a judgment statement, but at the same time, I want to be proud of everything that I did. And even if I'm not proud of something that I did, I want to be proud that that was part of the process that brought me to where I was, right? Another quote for myself, because apparently I'm doing that today, is my path may not be straight and narrow, but it led me where I was today. And that's, I grew up in the church, so that's where the straight and narrow pathway, blah, 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 that kind of stuff, whatever. But at the same time, it led me where I was today. And if I'm not proud of the things that brought me those experiences that brought me to understand this, or to realize something that I wouldn't have normally seen. And, I've been in some pretty interesting places, and you say, wow, this is really interesting. I bet all the moms on the schoolyard don't have that experience, and they don't understand that,
Sure.
But hey, I'm not ashamed of the fact that that's where I came from. I'm proud of the fact that that I used it to be a better person or to be who I am or something like that. I'm going off on a rant now. I'm sorry.
I like that because I think
leading.
it's what's missing is people not bringing, like what I hear you saying is bringing your whole self, you know, to an experience. Like we're not leaving, whether they're stories or experience, they're not leaving them behind. You know, it's all part of the package. And I think so much of shame and alienation and stigma in our community is it's where it's not allowing people to be whole, not bring them their whole self to the table to things. And in many cases, I feel like for me, if I were to leave those parts of the story out, the things that I experienced, the tragedy, the trauma, the loss, the just the despair, I'd be leaving out the aspects of things that gave me a life of understanding and wisdom finally from those experiences. It'd be like denying part of myself. And I think that's part of like, this, hear about this, the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's connection. And it's like, if we're not being our whole selves, like, can we connect? Like, are we able to connect? Like, because it's my belief is it's, like people experience happiness and joy on a lot of different levels. Like it's what's happiness and joy for you may not be happiness and joy for me. But like you're talking about losing somebody that you love to a substance use disorder, to something that should and could be preventable, and those things, that's a pain that a lot of people understand on a common level. I feel like is not the personal loss of those things, but to love and have lost somebody due to something that we feel like has opportunity to change through policy or just the shared experience of pain. Is that stuff I feel like in my experiences resonates on a lot of very similar levels for people, different than joy and happiness. And so much of our society is about pitching joy as buying this and driving this car and drinking that. Yeah, the best ability we have to connect is through the hard and the traumatic and the tragic experiences. Those are the things that I feel like people can actually connect over, and that gets people to a table having a conversation about how do we stop this crap from happening, whatever that crap is. There's a lot there. So
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm just going to leave it on. Wait, what was it we said? Hold on. Unconditional transparency.
I credit my friend Greg in Clallam Bay Correction Center with that.
I'm just, I feel like I'm blessed to have met you and to, kind of get a little picture into, your experience and kind of what you're doing with it. I think it's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for coming on, Joe.
Yeah, and Jody, thanks for reaching out. This was a wonderful way to spend my afternoon, and thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, wait, and so real quick, where can people find you? Where can people find the book and things like that?
So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and not Twitter so much, but yeah, you can look me up by Joseph Conniff. That'll probably pull up most of my handles in Seattle, Washington. And my book, Causes and Conditions, is on Amazon. It's on Barnes and Noble online.
All right. Well, keep in touch. Thank you for coming on, and thanks everyone for watching. If you have the means, please support us on Patreon /Real Progressives. Like, share, and follow, and all that kind of fun stuff. And we will see you next time around.